because we are human, we are going to make mistakes. When you develop an accommodative way of dealing with conflict, that means one person never gets their needs met. And if you do the avoidance, it means that also nobody is getting what they need. When people feel a lot of shame, they will not come back and repair. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Live by Design with Grace Kariuki. Conflict management is defined as ways in which we reduce or limit the negative experience within a conflict situation. So how do we make sure that even as we talk about the conflict at hand, as we communicate about what we are feeling, how we are experiencing each other, how do we do that in a way that we do not impact the relationship negatively, that we do not impact each other in a negative way? Now, I want to introduce you to how we choose to manage conflict, because each one of us is going to see and view conflict and enter into a conflict space in various ways. So we have 5 of them, and one of them is accommodating, and then we have avoidance, then we have competitive, and then we have a compromising, and also we have collaboration. So I'm going to go over each one of them, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information on who and why people will choose either one of those 5. And we start with accommodating. Usually, the person who acts in accommodative ways within a conflict is a person who wants to make the other person okay, so they forsake their own desires. They will look at the desires or what the other person feel, how they are experiencing them, and so they will accommodate the other person at the expense of their own. Their desire is to make sure that there is no anger, there is no fight, there is no negative experience within that. They are able to hold back what they need in order to avoid the conflict. This style usually is more appropriate for people who are looking at the person more than the issue. A very simple example is the example of a parent and a child. So if a child is wanting to avoid or wanting to make the parent happy, they are not going to speak their true mind, because they don't want to cause mom to be upset, because when mom gets upset, then there is war or there is punishment, those kinds of things. So even in marriage, some of us will feel if my partner looks like they are not happy in this conflict space, I'm going to accommodate them. So I'm going to say yes to them so that we can end the conflict, because I don't want them to be upset. And most of the time, the reason why we do that is because we are feeling emotionally unsafe because of the way our partner is approaching the conflict space. Usually in marriage, that is not sustainable over time, because the person who holds back their need in order to please the other person so that there can be harmony in the relationship, they will develop resentment. And at some point, there will be a blow up. And these are the people that we see. They are going to have a good period of relationship, and then suddenly there will be a big blow up. I want to help you as a couple, as an individual, to figure out what causes you, what leads you to shut down your needs in order to accommodate the needs of your partner. That now leads to people pleasing, and it also leads to a lot of resentment and bitterness within the relationship. If I were to look at that from the aspect of temperaments or personality, usually the accommodating person is going to either be a sanguine or the phlegmatic. And why is that? It's because the phlegmatic and the sanguine, they are very relationship oriented. So they want harmony. The phlegmatic is going to have harmony at all costs. They will not want to get into a space where there is a lot of conflict. And the sanguine, on the other hand, does not want the relationship to end. They want the connection to stay. So because I am feeling like if I disagree with you, or if I tell you what I think and you don't agree with me, the relationship is going to either end or we will not talk to each other, then I'm going to accommodate you so that we can be in harmony or we can stay connected. We need to understand that. Now that leads me to the next one. The next one is the avoidance. Some people, they avoid conflict at all costs. The person who is an avoidant, they will not pursue their belief or their values or what they want. They just want harmony. If a person is an avoider, they will probably be attracted to a person who pursues to resolve a conflict. And so what will happen is that they will have conflict within the time when they need to resolve something, because the phlegmatic is going to try to avoid. And that is usually the natural way a phlegmatic is going to go. The sanguine may not necessarily completely avoid. What will happen, they may enter into the conflict and have an argument, but if the argument looks like it's getting out of hand, they will now go into accommodating, and they are going to say, it's okay, we will go your way, so that it can end. Usually the phlegmatic, the avoider, is not going to engage. They may go into a freeze form. They may say, okay, I have heard you, so that it can end. And that is the challenge of the avoider, because you cannot resolve anything because they refuse to enter that space of conflict. What I encourage the phlegmatic to do, I encourage them to communicate that they've heard what the issue is and they need time to process. That is usually where the problem is that you are avoiding and you are not dealing with the issue even after the space, because you are avoiding the back and forth. Now, if you are avoiding the back and forth, you can ask to avoid for right now, but I have heard what it is, but please make sure you come back and say, the thing that we were talking about, I've thought about it, and this is what I think we should do. You say, so bring it back into the discussion when you have calmed down the anxiety that you feel during the conflict space. You want to understand that conflict is not a bad thing. Usually conflict is an opportunity for us to grow. Then we have somebody that we call the compromiser. The compromise style attempts to find a solution that will at least partially please everyone. This is the 50-50. Now, compromising can work if the two people are going to accept to work together. Where I say, okay, I see where you are, and the other person says, I see where you are, but because we need a solution, let's go 50-50. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. So you get a little bit of your needs met and I get a little bit of my needs met. Now that is usually a good place to go, to avoid completely accommodating, because you see, when you develop an accommodative way of dealing with conflict, that means one person never gets their needs met. And if you do the avoidance, it means that also nobody is getting what they need. When you come, if you can move away from those two and go into compromise, then you start the process of getting to a place of effectively managing the conflict within your relationship. So compromising is a good place to go, where you can move away from the gridlock or from the impasse or from that space of being stuck in a cycle, and you can go into problem solving and make sure that everyone is sacrificing something for the sake of the relationship. Then we have what we call collaborating. Now, collaborating is where we want to end up. A collaborating style attempts to find a solution that will meet the needs of all parties. And when my needs are met and yours are met and we are in a relationship, the relationship wins. So here we are not looking for one person is going to win while the other one is going to lose. No, we are looking for the relationship is going to win because both of us are going to win. One of the things, the skill set that we must have in order to experience or to move into the collaborating space is honoring each other. It is kindness, compassion, and empathy for where your partner is coming from. Because then, for the most part, more often than not, your relationship is going to win. Your mental health is going to feel much better because you will be able to manage the conflicts within your relationship in a very amicable manner, because you keep the honor, you keep the compassion, the kindness, and the empathy at the center of that experience that you are having. Because we are human, we are going to make mistakes. What we want to learn to do as couples and as people in long-term relationships is to learn how to repair, and to repair quickly. Sometimes when people feel a lot of shame, they will not come back and repair. They stay in that ego space where there is a lot of pride, arrogance, and sometimes there is sarcasm, there is contempt, instead of coming in and saying, I realize that I was wrong and I would like for you to forgive me. I would like an opportunity to repair what we broke, or together we can repair. How can we repair what happened last week so that we don't carry this thing over and over again? So that calls for a lot of humility, and it also calls for high levels of emotional intelligence, self-regulation, but also the understanding of how people experience you. If you want to be a highly effective communicator and conflict manager, you do need to learn how to know yourself and how to regulate yourself, and mostly how other people experience you. And then learn to take feedback so that you can correct it. You're going to experience high levels of satisfaction within your relationship. The fifth one, and this is the competitive style. As a personal disclosure, I experienced this with my parents. In fact, I used to hear my dad would say, oh, now it's competition. He would say it in my mother tongue. And now I know the argument is going to be for a long time, and it's going to be heated. And so because they entered into competitiveness. Now, the person who is going to use the competitive style, they do not really care about the other person's perspective. All they care about is their perspective. Each one of the people in that argument, they are going to be pushing their viewpoint, and they are not willing to back down. So it is the thing of I must have the last word. And so it will go on and on until one person decides, imetosha, or it ends up in a physical altercation. And so the competitive style is not going to be helpful in a relationship at all. It is always going to lead to breakdown of communication. It is going to lead to abuses. It is going to lead to bad feelings, negative feelings about your spouse. The worst case of competitiveness in a relationship is the verbal abuse that happens. So there is the verbal abuse, which will enter into emotional abuse. Now, emotional abuse in a relationship is usually what we call the threatening. You are threatening your partner, whatever that threat is. I will leave you, or the name calling. You are no good. Why can't you? And the comparing. So the name calling, the comparing. Why can't you be like other men? Why don't you go back to your mother? She teaches you how to be a wife. Those kinds of things. And then there is the withholding. And the withholding has something to do with I deny you what is due to you that is expected within that relationship, whether it is conversation, whether it is conjugal rights, whether it is provision, the feeling of safety, that you feel safe with me, whether it is celebrating you or esteeming you, respect. All those things are taken away. I hold them back. Because I'm mad at you, because we are not able to resolve things. And then we have now what we call humiliation. And humiliation is when you speak negatively towards your spouse in front of your children or in front of other people. You humiliate them in front of people. Now, when we are in a competitive space as couples, those are things which will come out because we are no longer in control of ourselves. The ego is in control, and we are emotional, and we cannot speak in a way that is respectful. We have no self-control. We have completely gone out of hand. This is usually the worst way of doing couples conflict management. It is going to end in us cutting each other down, and the relationship is not going to be fulfilling at all, because now we are going to the extremes of destroying each other by the way we speak, the way we deal with each other, and especially the threats. That usually puts both people in a space of fear and in a space of I'm not safe with you anymore. And then, of course, with competitive conversations, it will inevitably end in violence and also betrayal. So you find people now, because there is no peace at home, they will find somebody else where they can get their emotional, relational needs met. So it's very important for you as an individual to figure out where you fall in those 5 conflict management styles. So the negative ones are the competitive, the avoidance, and the accommodating. The other 2 that we want to work towards is now the compromising and the collaboration. Now, the accommodative is not necessarily a bad one. It can be the beginning of moving towards compromise and collaboration. The way that the accommodating can be positive is if both do it together, because you are growing together. If you really desire to make your relationship much more mutually fulfilling, consider reaching out to me. You can see how you can reach out to me through my website and the phone number there. I would really love to take you through a process of understanding how to create that safe environment for you to deal with conflict, because conflict is inevitable.